Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to The Mixer, the segment on this channel where I give you guys varied vlogs on different topics, from all walks of life. I talk about people, places, food, animals, sports, the whole 9 yards. I cover everything here, hence why it's called The Mixer. I mix everything up. And today's video is actually going to be a love letter to one that I recorded many years ago when my channel was still young, I believe it was either in 2016 or 2017. It was back when I first began to make, varied custom thumbnails in Photoshop, and on that occasion, that video was my 40th video special, Yes, folks, a long time ago, my specials were measured in counts of 10, so it was the 10th video special, 20th video special, 30th, 40th, and so on, After I hit 100, it was every 100 videos, so after I hit 1,000, I really have no idea how that's gonna work, but anyway, I'll get to that later. So on that occasion, I had talked about my days as a pro gamer, but pro in the broad general sense. I was very addicted to playing games, I still am today, but when I was younger, it was much more, prominent in my life than today. Today, it's much more just entertainment driven, and in case if you guys have never seen that video, I'm gonna leave a link to it up here, but just bear in mind that my channel back then was a very cringy place, everything was different, the lighting, the editing, the scripting, I was different. I didn't even wear glasses back then, so it was a very different era of this channel. But if you're curious to see how I began, you can go ahead and watch it later. The only thing that is the same is the shirt that I'm wearing. If you go and watch that video, you're going to see that I'm literally wearing the same exact shirt. I still have that shirt after all these years, but of course today it's going to be much more personal, and I'm going to be giving you guys a much deeper dive, Now, one of the reasons that I was inspired to create this video was because of something that I actually found here in my house recently. This is going to be a blast from the past for all of you gamers watching this. You guys remember these? Game Informer and Electronic Gaming Monthly, these magazines here. This is Electronic Gaming Monthly. I believe it was from 2005, 2006, because Halo 2 was actually pretty hot on the charts at the time, so mostly for PC games. Then there's the Game Informer, mostly for consoles. This one was from 2007, if I'm not mistaken. Borderlands was still hot, it was actually going to be coming out. Then because they were talking about Killzone 2 and also Halo 3 and BioShock. So yes, this is dead. This has 2007 written all over it. 1 year later, there was this one here, from 2008, with the Star Wars Force Unleashed game on the cover. It got into a lot of detail with other games as well. It was talking about Lost Planet and Conan the Barbarian, indie developers. And while reading through these magazines and feeling so much nostalgia, I was inspired to create this video talking about the significance of gaming to me, what it means to me specifically, So the title is not clickbait. I will be talking about the significance of gaming, but to me specifically, because I actually have a very long and rich history with gaming, I have owned quite a few consoles myself, both regular consoles and handhelds. I have played on PCs, but I've gone to many other friends' houses as I grew up and played on different consoles. So I have literally tasted pretty much every single console from every generation possible, So I have a very rich resume, so I want to share a little bit of that with you guys, starting a little bit off with the history of gaming itself, and then getting into the consoles that I've had, the games that I played that were very important to me, and let's just go from there and see where it goes. Just in case some of you aren't aware, the gaming industry is a very old market, man, The very first home video game console in history was released back in 1972, and it was a very stubby, ugly thing called the Magnavox Odyssey. There were very few games to play on that thing. It was very cringy and crappy, but it was still the birth of something that we could not have ever expected would grow so exponentially in the coming decades, There was, of course, the golden era, in like the 70s and 80s, and that's when gaming started to really reach a niche market around the world, and eventually Japanese companies, like Nintendo, Sega, and Sony would grow much more with their consoles, We had the original Nintendo Entertainment System, there was the Sega Dreamcast, then later the first PlayStation in the 90s, so Japan was really on track to becoming a gaming giant right from the get-go, So now this is more or less where I come in, because I am a 90s kid. My very first console ever was the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Now The very first game I ever played was Super Mario World, which I believe was released in 1990, you know, but I played it when I was like maybe 2 or 3. That's when my parents got me my Nintendo, and there were more games that were iconic at the time that also were very fun to me, like Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I also played Boogerman, which is a game where the character literally flicks boogers at the enemies, and he like vomits and farts and burps and flushes himself down toilets for checkpoints, you know. Very, very cringy, but hey, as a kid it was awesome, you know. There was also one of the original FIFAs, I believe it was FIFA 98 that I had for the Super Nintendo as well. Donkey Kong Country, you know, it was awesome, man. And of course, all of those fond, nostalgic memories of blowing in your video game cartridges, you know, because we all thought that that would actually resolve something. Then years later as an adult, you find out that actually that was the worst thing that you could possibly do, because the saliva would get inside and, you know, it just I was a dumb kid, weren't we all? Now, when me and my family moved to America, my parents almost immediately bought me a PlayStation 1. You know, I think it would be a few years because I still had the Super Nintendo for a while, you know, but I say almost immediately because as a kid, it just felt like I got it almost instantly. You know, I have very little memories of playing the Nintendo over there. It was mostly just PlayStation, you know. So when they got me the PS1, it was kind of like the foray into a whole different territory with 3D modeling, you know, and different character icons. I played a lot of The Land Before Time because I was a big fan of dinosaurs, you know. Jurassic Park Warpath, a fighting game with dinos, you know. Pretty much any dinosaur game that I could get my hands on, I would play, you know, for hours and hours. I also played it was Jurassic Park Warpath, but there was also this other game called Warhawk, you know, a game where you have fighter jets going around shooting each other, you know. A lot of Street Fighter. Actually, no, I didn't play a lot of Street Fighter on the PS1. It was actually more Tekken, you know, but I did crave Street Fighter a lot. I really wanted to play it, you know. A lot of Disney games, so there was Disney's Dinosaur, there was Tarzan, you know, a lot of intellectual properties from Disney that I actually enjoyed playing a lot. There were a few other games as well. During this time period, I did alternate between the PS1 and the PC, playing Sonic and Knuckles, you know. I was also really a big fan of that. I actually played very little PC games. It was mostly on the console, but it opened me up to a whole new world and I started to understand more how important gaming was becoming, you know, because to me it was more than a pastime. It was like I really transported myself to different worlds with the PS1, you know, while simultaneously also having a Game Boy Color, you know. My parents also got me a Game Boy, and I played a lot of games on that, notably Pokemon, you know. One of the first Pokemon games, also of, not specifically, I don't remember what it was specifically, but it was a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, maybe 1 or 2, one of the first ones, you know, for the handheld. I played a lot of basketball, probably an NBA Jam title, you know. There were also a few other games for the color that I can remember. There were a few Mario games that I played, but I actually remember very, very little of the Game Boy Color because at some point down the road, I got a Game Boy Advance, you know, and I remember very vividly the games that I played on this one, you know, like for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist, so because I was like obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid, you know, as like a preteen and adolescent. I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! So much. The Jurassic Park games, there was Jurassic Park 3, there was a tie-in game for the Game Boy that I played, you know, when the movie came out. There was also Turok Evolution. I loved that game so much, you know, killing dinosaurs and mercs, you know. That was freaking awesome, man. I was a very violent kid with the handheld. It was pretty crazy. Also played a few time games. I'm pretty sure I played Spider-Man on more than one occasion, you know. There was also a few, I don't think I played any sports games besides maybe a little bit of NBA, but there were some fighting games also. There was one game that I played a lot that I can't remember. I think it was called Game & Watch Gallery 5. It's like a Mario Party box deluxe thing with a bunch of different Mario games, you know. There was also Kirby. I don't remember specifically which one, but I did play a lot of it, you know. And it just, I don't know, man. There were so many games that I played on the Game Boy Advance that they almost kind of eclipsed, you know, the PS1, because I had like a cartridge little box full of games, you know, for the Game Boy Advance, and it was just crazy, man. Holy crap, so many fond memories. Now, there came a time when my Game Boy Advance, you know, became just a tad bit obsolete, and luckily my dad was very gracious enough to help me upgrade to the Game Boy Advance SP, you know. That one was really cool because I loved the idea of you being able to open and close it, you know. It was really cool, and I had a lot of really cool accessories, like a little bag for it, you know, even a little light that I could use. No, not the light. The light was for the Game Boy Advance, sorry. The Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Color had a little light that you attach, but the SP had a built-in light, you know, but I still kept the light anyway because sometimes I would play the older consoles that I had, you know, so that was also really cool. Got a few new games too. I got into the Pokemon games at this time. You know, I played I think it was Pokemon Red, or no, sorry, Ruby Red. Then there was Sapphire Blue. You know, I think I had those two. You know, I never really understood what the concept was of the different colors, but I guess maybe each one offered a different backstory and different Pokemon to capture. You know, this and that. So played a lot of that. You know, my friends, like I had a lot of friends when I was a kid because I was the one that had the most consoles. You know, usually like my buddies had just one console each, but I had like a bunch. You know, aside from the Super Nintendo, I had the PS1 and the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color Advance and SP at this point, you know, so quite a few iconic games there that I played as well. Then many years later, emerging now into the early 2000s, you know, the early 2000s were when, you know, the core industry centered on AAA gaming, you know, so that's when it left little room for experimental games. So now this was more along the time when broadband started to become a little bit more popular, so now we also had the availability of the internet and digital distribution, you know, so you know, there were a lot of independent game developers that were still kind of having a hard time coming out of their shell, you know, that would be much later. But anyway, it was around this time that I got my PlayStation 2, you know, my dad bought me a PS2, and I still remember the day, man. He just, like, I was playing with my friend, my PS1, and he showed up at the door with the PS2, and I was going crazy because this same friend lived next door. He had a PS2, you know, I played Grand Theft Auto Vice City with him a lot, you know. I thought the graphics looked amazing, so my dad helped me with that. He upgraded me with the console, so then this is where the floodgates really open. In case you don't know, the PlayStation 2 to this day is still the highest selling video game console of all time, you know, bar none. So like it's kind of funny because this was the moment where I played the vast amount of games in my career, like it's an actual job, you know, because this really opened the floodgates for me. It's gonna be really hard to say all the games that I played, so I'm gonna try to narrow it down to a few significant ones, you know. My favorite games, I believe, were the Ratchet and Clank series. At the time there were 3 different ones. I played them so much, I really enjoyed those, you know. It took me a while to get into the greedier ones like God of War and Grand Theft Auto, you know. I played Vice City with my friend, but my parents actually didn't let me play too much of it because it was violent, but they did eventually open me up to the idea of me playing something a little better, so they let me play Vice City and then San Andreas, which I still don't like, you know. Very unpopular opinion, GTA San Andreas I still don't like to this day, you know, but it's still, a lot of fighting games took form in my library, you know, with the PS2, so there was a lot of Tekken, there was a lot of Street Fighter, and most prominently there was Mortal Kombat, you know. I think the first game that I ever played in the Mortal Kombat series was Deception, you know, getting a little taste of Sub-Zero and Scorpion, a lot of that blood, you know, the really gory stuff. Then the superhero games, you know, a lot of the Hulk games and Spider-Man. Very big fan of the original Spider-Man and the sequel Spider-Man 2, which is just amazing, you know. One of the pioneering open world games of that era, you know, it holds up well still today. Man, I played that game for so many hours, it's not even funny, you know. A lot of tie-in games from movies, you know. I was still a fan of Disney, so I also played this game called Tarzan Unlimited, you know. The Incredibles for the PS2 was also awesome, you know. Jaws Unleashed, man, I love Jaws Unleashed so much. And of course, the floodgates were really open when I became a Star Wars fan, you know, because now I was buying Star Wars Battlefront, you know, Star Wars Battlefront 2 later, which I also bought with the Revenge of the Sith DVD. My dad bought it for me, rather, you know. I also played Republic Commando, the Clone Wars, Lego Star Wars, you know. Big fan of Lego video games at the time. Lego Star Wars 2 was also really cool. I had a friend at this time who was a big fan, so we would always play Lego Star Wars together, you know. We'd go to each other's houses. It was really awesome. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I could just go on and on, man, you know. But the point is that the PlayStation 2 represented a very, very large chunk of my adolescence playing games, you know. Not even the future consoles came close, man, you know. I have an entire goddamn drawer just filled with games that my dad would buy for me over the years, you know. So yes. I also played a little bit of Predator, Concrete Jungle. That was one of the last games I played on the PS2, you know. When I came to live in Brazil, I got into sports, you know, so I bought a lot of PES games, you know. Never got into FIFA, but I did play a lot of PES starting in 2009, you know. And then got into God of War again. I played the first God of War and then God of War 2 as well. A friend bought it for me as like a birthday gift. So it was crazy, man. The PS2 was just, I brought the PS2 from the US to Brazil, you know. But at the time, I had actually gotten, while I still had the PS2, my dad bought me the Xbox 360 in 2005 or 6, if I'm not mistaken, you know. And this is really, truly when my gaming prowess began to take a turn, man. acquiring the Xbox 360, you know, and the time period where gaming was starting to grow much more exponentially, you know, was kind of like this moment where I realized that this was more than a pastime, you know, because the Xbox introduced achievements, and this is where my gaming addiction really skyrocketed, because before, for many years, I would play games just for the sake of it, you know, having fun and going on these indescribable journeys that I would never have the opportunity to go anywhere else, not even watching movies, you know. It was great to play games that were long, like RPGs with stories, you know, very well-driven plots, but this was different. Now, in the beginning, not so much, but as time went on, I started to play more and more games just to unlock achievements, you know. I recorded a video still this year, many months ago, talking about Xbox achievements in general, you know, if you guys want to watch that later, breaking down if achievements have gotten too easy, but that's a whole different rabbit hole that you guys can get into later. But now I was playing games much more competitively, and there's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. I'm an only child, so when I was a kid, I grew up playing by myself, you know, so I always was very competitive because I wanted to win. I never had a younger or a little brother to kind of challenge me and share the console, and because usually when you grow up with a sibling, you're not as competitive because you grow up competing with them, you know, so you learn the value of teamwork, you know, and getting along with others. With me, it wasn't like that, you know, especially when I started to play online, because the 360 was my first foray into online play with Xbox Live, you know, so for the first time ever, I was getting exposed to other gamers online and interacting with them, which was just, it was either very awesome and I made friends, or very horrible and I made enemies, you know. So because I had grown up as an only child, whenever my friends came over to play with me, I was very competitive. I did not like to lose. Sometimes I would cheat, I will admit. So with the 360, it was different. It brought a little bit more teamwork out of me, because there were many achievements that I had to unlock with the help of somebody else, you know. Throughout this time, I was introduced to franchises like Gears of War and Halo, which I do still love today, you know. Gears of War much more than Halo. Gears of War has kind of gone downhill lately, and I think Halo has gone uphill, you know. The games have been getting a lot better, whereas Gears has kind of been lackluster. But let's see what the new game, the new one is going to entail, you know. Still wasn't really into sports, you know, but I did still play quite a few different games. My God, there were so many, man. What was it? Perfect Dark Zero. There was Half-Life, you know, the orange box as well, Team Fortress 2. There were way too many damn games that I played, bro. You know, aside from Halo, BioShock, which I still consider to be one of the best games of all time, you know, single player or otherwise. I also played, let's see, what else? Oh, Left 4 Dead with my friends online. That was really cool. Whether offline or online, it was really awesome, but of course, the experience was much better when you had buddies, you know. There were more Lego games that I played, getting achievements in them, you know, Lego Batman, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the whole 9 yards there, you know. There were many games that I explored just for the sake of unlocking easy achievements. I'm not exactly proud of that, but I still do it today, so I don't care. You know, I do love unlocking achievements. I'm a little addicted. I am a certified Xbox achievement hunter. I also played Prey, you know, one of those. There was also a little bit of Quake and Doom. You know, I was starting to get into the more grittier side of gaming. Call of Duty as well, you know. My first introduction to Call of Duty was on the PS2, you know, when I had Big Red one, but this is where I got into the more grittier ones, you know. We're talking Call of Duty 2 and then 3, and then later there was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which just ushered in this new area of FPSs, which was awesome, you know. Did not like playing online, but I beat the campaign, you know. One of the hardest games that I ever 100%ed. Got every single damn achievement of that with the help of my friend Matt, you know, who came over many days to help me beat it on veterans. So it was tough. It was a tough journey, but I really enjoyed it a lot, you know. A lot of fun. Call of Duty. What else, man? So many shooters, so many FPS, so many other ones, you know. Exploration games like, I don't know, there was Fable, and I also played Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. There were way too many damn games, dude. Star Wars games, you know, Force Unleashed. I love that so much. And basically anything that I could get my hands on revolving the properties that I enjoyed, I was playing, you know, out the wazoo. Can't recall any dinosaur games. I don't think I played any. There was Turok that was released for the Xbox, but that game was so hard. I never even finished it, you know. Barely got past the first stage. Never played any horror games except for The Darkness, you know. And I think I played Fear. No, Fear. I never played Fear. I don't even think it was for 360. But anyway, so I expanded much more, you know. I came to Brazil still with my 360. Got into soccer. Started to buy PES and FIFA, you know. Not necessarily buy. I only ever bought FIFA 12, but I borrowed a lot of other PESs and FIFAs from friends, you know, went to their houses to play it, so it was fun. Played some NBA as well with my cousin's PS3s, you know. So while I grew and got more Xbox consoles, my cousins always got the PS3, PS4, so I would go to their house and play stuff, you know. So that was really fun as well, you know. Really cool, man. I really hope I didn't leave out any important games because I pretty much covered the basics. You know, the 360 was a very important. I played Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows as well. It was just awesome, and the 360 represented such a big chunk of it, you know. But of course, the PS2 was much better. But the 360 was fun, playing online and stuff, you know, getting achievements and just, you know, exchanging much more pleasantries and also rivalries within the gaming community, you know. I was also very partial to the superhero genre of video gaming, you know, so I played Spider-Man 3 as well, you know. Many years later, I played, I believe it was The Amazing Spider-Man, the one with, I think, Andrew Garfield, you know, where they kind of tried to do kind of like a Batman Arkham thing, you know. Forgot to mention the Batman games. I am a recent foray into the Batman Arkham series, you know. I played Batman Arkham Asylum here in Brazil when I was already here, so it took me a long time to save up enough money to buy the game, you know. I also played Arkham City. I beat both of them. I started but never finished Arkham Origins, but I did play Arkham Knight, you know, on the Xbox One. I finished that one. Very amazing game, incredible visuals, you know, very great story as well. Characters, everything was perfect about it, you know. Then also, you know, I played also back on the 360 the Iron Man game, you know, that I do believe there was just one. There was the Incredible Hulk where you go around smashing stuff, you know. So X-Men Origins Wolverine, one of my favorite ones that I actually got all of the achievements in, you know. Street Fighter 4 was one of the one of my most favorite ones that I still play today on the Xbox One, you know. One of the best Street Fighter games I've ever played in my entire life. And getting all caught up now, my most recent console was the Xbox One S, you know, which I actually bought myself with my own money. It was the first console that I've ever bought with my own cash because I lived with my parents for 25 years and my dad was always the one who bought me the consoles, you know, so it felt good living by myself and saving up enough to buy a console of my own. So that was really nice because by now there was a much bigger niche market for indie game developers, you know. So today there are emerging Asian markets, you know, mobile games on smartphones which drew a lot of demographics, you know. So yes, so now gaming has become much more casual, you know. Anybody can pick up a controller and play, which I think is really awesome, you know. You should actually never judge somebody as, you know, you should never harsh somebody just because they're casual and you consider yourself to be hardcore, you know. But because, dude, the gaming industry is 3 times the size of the global music and film industry, you know. So, you know, it's 3 times the size of the music industry and 4 times the size of the film industry. So it makes a lot of money. A lot of people can play, you know, so just leave them alone. So with the Xbox One, I got back into the swing of things, getting achievements, but there were so many games that I was deprived of, you know, over the years of not playing anything. So from 2018-19 onward, when I got the Xbox One, which I unboxed here on my channel, that was a really interesting video to do. Bro, I got back into Gears of War, Halo. I played so many new indie games, you know, that developers were coming out and creating. So it's going to be really hard, but basically what gaming means to me today is a form of escapism, you know. Because today I'm a big sports fan, you know, which I wasn't many years ago. So today, the difference is that I play games like NHL and Madden, you know, Madden NFL. I play FIFA, NBA, whether it's live or 2K. I'm even getting into MLB, baseball. I play UFC sometimes, you know. I'm starting to play tennis, you know. So a lot of different games that I'm a very, very open-minded gamer. I love playing new games, you know, and just thinking outside of the box. Although I'm not a big fan of puzzles, you know. I tried to play Control recently and it just didn't sit well with me. I never even finished it. And I played my first real authentic horror game recently, you know, which was The Evil Within. I even reviewed it, you know. I reviewed it here on 8-Bit Chazzy, you know, if you want to watch it later. So it was nice. I'm still building up courage to play the sequel, you know. That's probably going to be a little tougher, but still, the Xbox One right now, I definitely have not played probably as many games as I played back on the PS2, but I'm definitely exploring much more than I ever did, and that's for sure. Today, I am an open book when it comes to games. I will play anything and everything, anywhere and everywhere, you know, to emphasize the point that I am an all-around gamer today, man. To this day, I'm still not a big fan of platforming and puzzle games and ones that are too hard, rage games, you know. Although I did play Super Meat Boy recently, you know, it's fun, but I like to have fun in games, you know. I like to, today I have kind of, there was a brief period in my youth when I played them for the journey, you know, the escapism and just having fun. Then it was about getting achievements and gamer score and being better than everybody, you know. And today, I'm sort of like in the middle ground, you know, like I enjoy getting gamer score, you know, and seeing my points rack up. but I also play to, you know, sometimes I play when I come home from work or on my day off just to relax, you know, just chill the hell out. Not always for YouTube or for achievements, just because I actually want to, you know. So that's what gaming is to me, you know. That's what it represents to me. Like, it's just a form of pleasant escapism. It's a way for you to feel like you're a different character going on a journey that you normally couldn't in real life, you know. A way for you to just relax and let your mind wander, you know. Sometimes I'll play a game while without any volume. It's one of those games where I can just grind like a fighting game, you know. I did this a lot in Rise, Son of Rome, you know. So with listening to music or watching a YouTube video or a podcast or something, you know, that's what it is. It's about just chilling out, you know. So right now we are all caught up, you know. That is a little bit of a rundown of every single gaming console that I've had, not counting too much the PC. I played RuneScape on the PC for many years, but I mean, I don't know if it counts, you know. I've never really been much of a PC gamer. I've played that, and that's pretty much essentially the only game, you know, aside from CD-ROMs that I had back when I was a kid, you know. I think I have a Jurassic Park game, and I also had I forgot what I had for PC, Iguanodon, Pondaton, some Disney games, you know. But if aside from RuneScape, I was never really big of a PC gamer. Still am not today, you know, even though things like Steam, you know, and PC gamers are getting much better, but still, I've always enjoyed the experience, you know, this experience right here, you know. I've always enjoyed the experience of having a controller in my hand, you know, and just holding it and playing like this, you know. This really, to me, is just the tool. This is the tool for the job. I like sitting down, playing with my TV, you know, laying down on my couch. I'm not a big fan of PCs, you know, but that's just how it is, man. My personal opinion, okay? PCs are better, yes, obviously, but I just prefer consoles as a personal thing, you know? And that's it, guys. I've been playing some new games this week, you know. This year I played quite a few different ones, you know. If you have Xbox Live, go over there and add me on, you know, my gamer tag is Chazzy Feeh, and you can see my list of the games that I play. Maybe that would be easy to just keep explaining more and more, you know. But basically, this is what gaming is to me. That's what it represents to me and why it's important. And I'm always so happy to see it growing, you know. I wish I had the current Xbox Series X or S, but I can't afford it right now, so gonna have to admire from afar, right? But maybe one day. The new consoles now, man, like the PS5, they're all just looking amazing. And the Nintendo Switch too. If I could have a Nintendo Switch, that would be awesome. Go back to the glory days. Somebody lent me a Nintendo Switch once, you know, but I'm not going to talk about that there, you know. But they did let me borrow it, you know. I played Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, you know, Zelda, Street Fighter, but I'm probably Donkey Kong, just name dropping thing. I'm going to get into that later, you know. But yes, I did have an experience with the Nintendo Switch, you know. I played all of those great games and it was really nostalgic, you know. But that moment was so awesome to me that I actually think I'm going to cover it in a different video when I got the Nintendo Switch, you know, and talk about the games there. So maybe that's what's going to happen. I'm going to leave that for another topic, but I did have that exposure there. But anyway, guys, half a freaking hour recording. I got to stop now because this video is going to get way too damn long for a concept vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, going into a deep dive of the games that I played over the years, you know, and I probably left quite a few out because I played too many of them. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about this, you know, what your history with gaming is, what you've played, what you're playing now, what you want to play, this and that. And also, if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to this channel because I release videos every single day. Shut up, you goddamn parrots. And hit the notification bell so you can know exactly what time I upload. And that's it. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen. Shut the hell up, you goddamn parakeets, you oversized Spiros.